And so the idea is to reflect upon the skull and to think what death can teach you, or what the importance of death is in one's life.
Hello and welcome back to 22 Steps into Spiritual Freemason. 22 steps into spirituality based on ancient Masonic wisdom. Finally, lesson 18, and I get the introduction wrong, so that's a good sign. And as you see, these are 22 videos. This is video number 18. We already have 17 videos before. You might jump back or you might jump ahead, depending on when you're watching this. And this is a unique collection of practical spirituality, bringing us through the grade of Freemasonry. It's open for everyone to have a philosophical but also practical ideas. And I welcome back first of all, thank you for giving us a sneak peek. Depending when you watch it, the new book of Chris will be out or not yet. This is a sneak preview on his book. Thank you and welcome back, Chris Earnshaw. Opa.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. So today, lesson 18, it's about the Memento Mori, the using death as a teacher. So in some, some grand lodges, some grand lodges around the world, there is a reflection chamber. And this is something that new candidates are required to go to sit for about an hour in the dark, with pencil and paper and sometimes a lit candle, and normally a skull on a table in a room by themselves. And so the idea is to reflect upon the skull and to think what death can teach you, or what the importance of death is in one's life. And so many grand lodges now, what we call constitutions, no longer have this chamber of reflection. So I think this is slightly a sad thing, something that could be brought back. It sort of sets the tone for the following 3 degrees. So in Japan, we have it doesn't sound the same, but it's the Cherry Blossom Festival. So the Cherry Blossom Festival in Japan, many people think of it as a kind of a party to let off steam, to get as drunk as possible with your friends, your classmates or colleagues at the office. But in fact, originally the idea of cherry blossom was it's a natural flower. So then people they wrote some poem about, it's called the Iroha poem, which is a wonderful poem because it uses each letter of the alphabet only once to make up this poem of about 10 lines. And even though you're using each letter of the alphabet once, the content of the Iroha poem, to do with cherry blossom, is very deep. It's to do with the impermanence of life, and how our life is so fleeting, because the cherry blossom normally lasts about 1 week when it's in full blossom. And then the petals start falling off because it's the beginning of spring. Sometimes the wind is a bit strong, and you even get what we call cherry storms, where you just get it's hard to explain, but it's a storm of cherry blossom petals coming at you. And often your car it looks like a kind of pink camouflage. Anyway, so this poem, Iroha, teaches not just about if we can accept the impermanence of life, that's fleeting, like the short life of the cherry blossom, but it also gets us to reflect upon our lives and how we should really live our lives. And I think this is what the Memento Mori is also teaching us. It's not there to scare us or to threaten us. It's for us to reflect upon our lives and how short our lives are. And so how can we use this? And we can, in our journals, we should write some questions like, for example, if today were my last day, what would matter to me? What would I do my last day? And so something to reflect upon. Also, you could write a short ethical will. So what sort of values do you want to leave behind? Do you think you have made this world a better place because you were in it? Or is there something else you want to teach further down of other generations? Yes. You could write your own obituary, how you see yourself and how you think your life has been important to other people. Another point you want to write about is what would you want people to say about your life? Hopefully that you didn't waste your money and squander your time in bars and at horse racing, but what other qualities do you want to be remembered for? So this is a kind of part of that reflection on life and pending death. In Taoism, we say that in Chuangzi, chapter 2, he says that life and death are like one thread. And you can see that the same line between life and death, but viewed from different angles. I know when I studied Confucius, he said, one of his quotes was that if you don't know about life, then you don't know anything about death, or shouldn't know anything about death. This is in Confucius' book 2. And what he's saying here is that you should focus on your life and living rather than speculate on the afterlife. So he wasn't a very religious person. In China in those days, Taoism was the main religion and people didn't think much about the afterlife. However, because what we know about the afterlife through the teachings of people like William Bullman and Robert Peterson and others who talk about outer life experiences, what I think I'd like to change Confucius' expression to what you don't know about death, you won't know about living. So if you understand death, then your life will change, basically. So here's a few things to be working on as we come to near the end of the book, talking about death and things like that. Yes. So it's important to, I think, first to use the awareness of death to heighten the meaning of life. So that was the changing inversion of Confucius's saying. And secondly, to reflect on mortality with reverence, but not fear. There is nothing to fear about death and dying. It's like moving into another room, as I wrote about in one of my books. Life goes on a different way, a more splendid way. And so it's really, death is not to be feared. Can I leave it there?
Absolutely. Can I just quick interlock with one or two things? First, we all seen on YouTube some beautiful videos of ceremonies that Freemasons sometimes make for their brothers when they leave. They're singing and having these rituals. I don't know if this is like connected with one and the other. And the second question would be, I don't know if it is a reflection chamber, if I remember correctly. do you know where it's rooted in? Because I think I remember some Greek and also Roman practices where they went into caves and so on and so forth to confront. I'm not sure. I'm just a little bit now. I have a hole. I can't pull it together where I remembered it. So do you know where's the root of this reflection chamber?
No, but it's quite, as you mentioned, it's quite common as a kind of initiation. I think Freemasonry is the importance of reflection chamber is to set the tone for the whole of the 3 degrees and going forward. That there should be a form or a level of decorum and not worrying, not dread of death, but seeing death as the other, it's like on a mirror, it's the other side of life. And, I think the worst thing is to think that when you die, you become ash and that's it. You're finished, you're thrown away. That's not true. The soul is a wonderful, very powerful entity, and it outlives the body and continues life in the next world.
Well, thank you so very much for this wonderful lesson. And all of us, and this is, I guess, an intensive subject, but nevertheless, if you feel like sharing some of the thoughts about this and the value of having these little texts that you write to yourself and about yourself and what you wish and what you hope for and what thoughts that might have crossed you doing this, we very much appreciate you getting engaged in this little conversation that we have. With this, I end lesson 18. Thank you so very much, Chris. And I'm looking forward for our next recording. Thank you very much.
Thank you.